All right. So I'm going to go ahead and everybody is, yeah, thank you, Emily. This is going to be this. I'm Suzanne Carolyn. If we've never met, we've never talked before. I'm the head of marketing and communications here at NAFA. And what I wanted to do today is to basically, like I said, this is kind of what I would consider the behind the scenes call about for the behind the scenes people who are out there supporting our members every day, because we've got a lot of stuff coming our way, and it's time that we don't have enough of these calls probably. So, so consider this kind of like we're just going to talk about marketing communication stuff, but I wanted to really get on the phone with everyone today. And then today's topic is really about supporting financialsecurity.org. So one of the things that we're doing in pivoting from a membership perspective in particular, but also just, we have a little bit of time together, is that as it was, we moved the launch of financialsecurity.org up by about 6 weeks, and we officially launched it February 4th. So again, with this timeline was to build out content, and this is again our consumer site. If you haven't heard, it replaces advisorsyoucantrust.org. So that will no longer is not something you want to advertise, put anywhere. We're using financialsecurity.org. That other site will go away at the end of this week, actually. So at financialsecurity.org is the consumer site. And what we want to do on that site, of course, is to go direct to consumer with content, which means that the best way to do that, and with COVID-19 coming our way, again, that's really sped up the need for the American public to get credible, authoritative information. So we've dropped everything and we're putting together COVID-19 resource kits as much as we can. And so what you need to know in that is that if you're going to put something out there, if you're going to market something, if you're going to talk to members, the big thing we need to do is we need to get more members involved in the site, because it's a site for them. It's also the one that has the Find an Advisor. And so if you are an active member, one of the big benefits there is that consumers see that you ascribe to a code of ethics, and your membership information there should be updated. So a couple things to note as far as, how you can help. And here's a big difference. We've had this has kind of come up several times in the last couple of weeks, where this understanding of, on top of all this, right, we've undergone the biggest change you could possibly make in an association after 128 years and rewriting bylaws and putting them in place. And we're still not all comfortable with our roles and who's doing what and how that works between local chapter to state chapter to national, and how it's home office now and how this happens. And there's sometimes consternation, and sometimes, things are kind of all not completely in a nice kind of way that, it's coming from home office and then it propagates through through NAFA Nation. So case in point, let's talk about a couple of things that have come up this week. So right now, NAFA needs to lead. NAFA home office is at a point now where we need to lead. It's just like the CDC. The CDC leads, and then you've got the state health departments decide what they also need to do from that, following those pieces of the CDC, and then putting in whatever is applicable to their particular locality. So if we're putting out something that's like a town hall that's every day at noon, we need to lead in that space and not have anything conflicting with us. So it means we all have to be really like eyes on as to what's happening so we can move as one. What we're telling everybody is if we do this right in the next couple of months, we'll be the American Red Cross to the financial services sector, which is what we're aiming to be. But it really means that we don't even have the structure in place yet to move as one, right? And that's what we were working on to get there throughout this year, but we're gonna just have to do it a lot faster. Okay, so one of the things that we know, we've had a lot of people saying like, when do we get onto the new websites? When does this come, et cetera? So again, if we're putting out materials, you use the same materials. If we're putting out one look and feel, you use the same look and feel. And what would really help all of NAFA as a whole now is if we all kind of lock in to what this financialsecurity.org site is and what that can mean for our members. So if you haven't seen financialsecurity.org, let me just pull up a couple of things here and take you to a couple pieces. Everybody see that? Okay, so a couple things to note that we're going through with everyone about where these materials are and understanding the websites and really understanding that we're doing everything usually in about triplicate now to really hit each audience. We didn't do that before. I'm sure we did in 130 years, somewhere along the line we have. We haven't done it in the last 2 years, I can say for certain. So this is the first time we're really breaking out these audiences and really populating them. So the consumer site, financialsecurity.org, over here under resource kit, you'll see COVID-19, okay? And this page is gonna rapidly change on a probably near hourly basis. So for today, we've got frequently asked questions. And then we have a lot of just links and resources. Okay, so if there's something that you wanted to put out, if you're saying, okay, how can I be helpful to my members in New Mexico or, you know, Arizona or whatever, wherever the case you might be right now, this would be something that would be really good to put out and be able to understand that this is something that is there for consumers, okay? But this is for consumers. So the thing that I was telling you before is that we have taken this now, and we've already done this. We've already taken it out to at least on the federal level. We've taken to the federal level to say, hello, here, we know consumers are calling, we know they're calling, they're asking you. I take that back. We've done it on the state level too. So in the state and federal level, we're saying, hey, NAIFA is here to be a resource to you, okay? We know consumers are concerned. We know they're asking questions about cybersecurity and scams, and they're worried and they're scared, and we're saying, hello, it's NAIFA's time to shine. This is what our people do, right? Times like this, you need your financial advisor. So that's the message that we're putting out there. We've gotten incredibly good, positive responses from that. We've got a lot of mentions in Twitter, et cetera, from, you know, a US House representative to a state representative saying, thank you for this information. We are going to continue to do that. You can help support that effort. The biggest way you could help support this effort is by feeding us members. And I'm gonna really just kind of hone in on this one for a second. We've never really, I think, talked about this. In the last couple of weeks, we'll have someone call up and either we've gotten emails from staff who are, you know, basically criticizing. So I can't think of another word, not constructive, criticizing. Like, you're not handling this well, you're not doing this, et cetera. Look, this is our organization, okay? This is not us and them. So if you've got an idea out there and you've got something, you've got some other materials or something that we can use, you're like, hey, one of my members is doing something great, et cetera, please please push it up, because we're one staff, right? This is our group here. And the other thing is, we're not sitting on infinite number of resources over here at home office. So just in case everybody wants, you know, I think sometimes we think that it's not an endless amount of, you know, stuff. So, and I'll also say one other thing. We've had a lot of people call up and say, my members. There's our members. So there's no my and us, okay? This is our time to also to come together as a team. And especially there's no way the only way we're gonna do this, especially when you're gonna have one brand, when we all look the same, we all use the same resources, nothing will unite you faster than one NAIFA brand, okay? So when all of a sudden everybody realizes we have to look the same, we have to use the same materials, that us versus them goes away real quick, okay? Because this is our organization. So when we're talking about it, it's really important that we're understanding that it's our members. And so your job in the field, especially out there, if you're working at the state level, the chapter level, et cetera, is to help either your committees, and a lot of times you guys are doing the work yourself, feed us the members, okay? Because our job, what we can do, is get them out on a national platform as soon as possible, right? So that's a win-win. But we can't go after we need you guys to be pushing up and elevating your members up to us, okay? And letting them know, constantly saying, hey, who wants to volunteer? Do you see the opportunities here? Do you see the opportunities? Like, why don't you get published in Advisor today? Why don't you get out and do a tweet chat, right? We have so many opportunities to do that, and none better than financialsecurity.org, because it's the biggest win-win for a member, because they themselves get to be going direct to consumers, and we're trying to promote that, okay? And you guys know the members better, like you know them personally, where we're looking at a database of maybe 25,000 people, and we might have some personal relationships, but it's not the same. And what we want to make sure we do is we really have a good cross-cutting set of members from all over the country. So case in point, so what can you do today? So the piece that I wanted to show you today is something that we did talk about today in our town hall, which again is member to member. So this is staff to staff, right? So we have a real thing that we're trying to build back. Members talk to members, staff talks to staff. So this is our staff to staff time. So in doing this, we have put together a volunteer page about how to participate in financialsecurity.org, right? And this is where we need your help drastically to get and to help to push along your members and say, why don't you participate? Or like, hey, Steve, I think you would be great. Or Gary, how about you? Have you thought about this? Because I know that you've been doing this. A lot of you have relationships with these people for, decades. So now's the time, especially if they don't have to go through compliance. So this is like the time for your independence to really shine, because we can get them directly out there as soon as possible. And here's what I mean. So we have Jennifer Hodges here did one of our first videos for us. One of the big things and also it will really help in our PNC space, which we don't have nearly enough content. So for the PNC people right now, I mean, I talked to Jill Judd this morning. She said she's on a 16 to 18 hour day every day, right? Because she just talked, so many people are calling. She's got 2,000 clients, the whole bit. Jennifer just did a video that's basically talking about one of the big misconceptions of are you covered with your business? Like, is COVID-19 something that is kind of an insurable event, right? And so we're going to put that out for small business owners. So the way we got Jennifer to do this, and we're able to do it very quickly, is we just said, hey, go ahead, member, and go ahead and pick a time. We set up a calendar, and Zach Hughes and Andy Moyer are going to do the video. So the only thing that the member needs to do is just book their time, right? And then set up the time, and they'll do the video, they'll edit it, and we've got it, and we'll get it out there onto the financialsecurity.org website, et cetera, okay? So this is something that this would be like the #1 thing we're trying to market, is to get people to do videos so we can get them out into the consumer world as soon as possible to get out good information. It can't be self-serving, of course, right? This is actually just doing a very quick topic-based little recording for people. The second one would be that if they want to do writing articles or et cetera, they can email us. And if they want to do financial literacy presentations, again, we could do that as well, but you can see we can't go in the community at the moment. So the biggest thing we could do to help out NAFA, help out membership, help out everyone, is to really participate in this financialsecurity.org. And if you have members who are wondering, hey, do I have content for, does NAFA have anything that I can use to send out to my clients, those things? That's what we're trying to put together as fast as possible. So if people have, this is the time to share. Some members like, hey, I've got this great piece. We're trying to put together a resource library of all of those materials so members can basically look at, take something from, so they have a starting point, okay? Because these are unprecedented times. So I'm going to stop for a second, just say any questions. You can unmute everybody if you want, Emily. Comments? Everybody can feel free to talk. Anything?
Suzanne.
Yeah.
I just have a question on the very first page. If I remember correctly, you asked us to, kind of push it out to our members. Do y'all have, and I know we have to be very careful in what we say during this time. Do y'all have something that you prefer us to say? Do you have it in writing or like an example?
For this, you mean to push out this? Yeah, we can give that to you.
And for the first page as well, that had all that information that could help them as well, the very first page. Because I think it's very important for all members to get it and look at it, but we got to catch them, you know, catch their eye or whatever we need to do. But I know earlier we said the language was very important, so I'm afraid I might say something I shouldn't. But
Okay,
so
yeah.
if it'll help, I'll gladly do it. So.
Okay, that's great. Yep, and that's what we need to know. What do you need, right? I know we have a member who wrote in also who said, "Hi, I'd like like a set of pre-written tweets to put out." So we're on that too, right?
Do you have that too?
Yep, that's all those things. We need the ideas. We need you to tell us, here's what you need, right?
Oh, cool. How about Facebook?
Yeah, that whole kit of.
Can we have that? I mean, can I have that? It's Debbie in Georgia. Can I have that?
Yeah.
Okay, great.
Yeah. Yeah.
Great.
And
so
then
you'll email it?
Go ahead.
Okay. Thank you.
Sure. And that's what we need to know. What are you guys hearing? Are you guys, it might be quiet for you because maybe your members are all heads down.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah. So it might be a good time to also, you know, figure out how we can do that and support them. Again, there's being able to recognize members during this. I know we're going to talk about that on Friday. I really think this is the first thing we need to focus in on.
Okay. Thank you.
In doing that, yeah, you're absolutely well. Thank you, Deb. And in doing that, what I was going to also say is one of the things that I'm, if COVID-19, you know, again, we launched the website right before COVID-19 really hit, I think in a huge amount of, in where it is today. So the thing that we haven't launched is the member site. And I want to talk just a second about that because the member site, we're very particular right now on the pages that we're sending and not making sure. So we have to understand that there's the current site, the new site, that's NAFA.org and what that goes to. That's for the public, right? That's completely for the public. It's built for this site that I'm talking about right here. This one, if you haven't seen it. This site is completely built for prospective members, the media, legislators, policymakers. That's who it's for. So this big button here of member login, everything that before was really about the member experience, it needs to be behind that, okay? The issue there, to be really candid, is it becomes that complete mix between that community.nafa.org YM stuff, right? And having a site that's super easy to use. And so thank you also for a lot of your feedback about saying, you know, that this site, which many of you have told us, is not so easy to find information, et cetera, and to drill into. So we're trying to figure out how we can artfully do that between the two to make it as smooth as possible. But it's only going to be so smooth. So I'm just telling everybody ahead of time, it's not going to be super smooth going between those two sites, right? Where like social link where your profile is and all of that. And that's just going to be, as you know, we don't have too much we can do with that. So the member site, I'm just going to give it to you a real preview to begin with. You guys all see that? Okay, so the member site will have a whole section here that's all the advocate, educate, differentiate, all the content in here. It has more resource kits, and probably most importantly, this whole volunteer section. Okay, and so we're going to put I'm going to put the financial security up here as well, but you can see this is where we're going to really build out. So this is all the world of stuff that happens after you become a member. All right. Now I'm saying that because if you have pages like that, what do we not want to do? We don't want to put those out into the public sphere.
Right.
So we're not putting that into social media, et cetera, because, you know, these should all be password protected. But just so you know why we're doing this, you know, so I think it's important that you understand, like, okay, well, because COVID-19 just caught us right between all of our resources, and we just pivoted and put all of our finite resources on that. So, but this is what's coming. And again, you're going to wake up in the morning and it's just going to be there. and I'm going to shoot everybody an email and say, member site is now here. Okay. And so again, if you should get people who are calling or they're looking for information or whatever, you know, the question should be, you know, where should that go to? Well, you don't feel, you know, we have a team that's there that's going to have more up-to-date information. So don't feel like you have to handle all that. I know a lot of you are still trying to like do all of that type of customer service type of work. But remember, as we move into this whole, you know, situation, there's a team for that, and that we're only going to have everybody up to date as quick, you know. Does that make sense? I'm trying to alleviate some of the burden on you, okay? So that I know you're not, you know, what we're trying to do is get people to make sure that they're not using you in the, you know, at the level of, at the state level, at the local chapter level, to do stuff that we already have resources for at the home office, okay? That way we don't break down in communication. We can see in COVID-19 times more than ever, communication channels are critical. So we got to start moving the communication to the right spots so we don't have inaccurate information. If you remember Michelle also saying how long it takes us to roll out programs. Well, COVID-19 is going to change all of that. And one of the pieces of feedback that we need to really understand, what do we need to be providing for the membership right now? Okay. One of the things that we know we need to do, we need to figure out how to do it well. And this is where I think you guys in particular will really be helpful. We have a whole set of our members, you know who they are, who are not technologically savvy. All the people that don't use email, or they're not using Zoom like this, or they're not on social media. And listen, if we don't get them there, they're going to, right? That's a disastrous kind of piece right now. That's like, you know, don't be the last household that didn't get the TV. Okay, because we're kind of at that point, and COVID-19 has made it really clear that we need to make sure that part of our mission is to be inclusive. We need to bring those people along and make sure that they still have access to good information. And in today's world, that information, that type of information is probably going to come through social media first because it's the fastest. So one of the things I'd like some feedback on is for those that don't have email, and we still have 3,000 people or so who are not getting our email. Right, so we're gonna have to look at that and figure those out. I think we're gonna pull that list up. We're gonna probably separate it out by state, send it over, and figure out what can we do with them. How do we get them back in the fold so we have those communication channels in effect, right? And a lot of them have, because maybe they get your email, but they don't get, you know, they get it from the state, but they don't get it from home office. Well, in a time like this, when we're all moving as one, they gotta have that open channel at each level, right? So we need to make sure that we're not, we've got everybody connected, and we're doing that. The last thing on communication, we talked about with the chapter presidents, just so you're aware, they decided that they wanted to be the first group to use text messaging. So we're gonna put that in this week too. And they're gonna be like our pilot or beta group for using text messaging so that we stay in contact, okay? And so that also is coming. And they wanted to do, that's a member to member thing. So that's a Cami and her set of state presidents there has decided that that's what they're going to do to make sure that they're in the loop and that they get the message first, and then they're responsible for also disseminating it member to member. Because as you guys know, this works the fastest in our membership, right? Text messaging is how the whole thing really moves. Okay, that's all the stuff that I wanted to go through today. So the next couple of days, we're gonna, again, hit a topic and then make sure everybody's equipped. But by all means, like if anybody wants to add anything, ask anything, please do so. And then you can always send it to either info @ or we're doing a lot of collection through member news @ we need to know what tools you need. That's our responsibility too, is to develop these tools that we can all move effectively as we start to consolidate to one set of templates, one set of materials, etc. Nothing?
Wow.
Yeah.
I unmuted everybody, but if you muted yourself, you have to unmute yourself if you would like to speak.
All right, so I'll give everybody a second just to think. If you have anything you want to email, or maybe you don't want to do it in a public forum, however you want to get us information, but we need to figure that out. One other thing, just so you know, since we're all talking, Q2 originally, meaning starting April, May, June, was going to be the quarter that we approach all of the chapter materials, right? So we needed to get our own, the NAPA.org in order, the member site, get onto a new platform. And then Q2 is the time where it's going to start rolling out all of the chapter stuff. So that means that, you know, the goal would be that we have all of our chapters, and not just the website, but email, onto HubSpot. Because right now, if you think about it, think about our data and data integrity. You guys are taking data from your membership system, pulling it down, uploading into other email systems. Who knows what compliance measures, if any, you have in place, or even know what those are. It's a lot of work to move all that stuff when we already have one set of data. So we're going to look at, can we just not get it onto one platform, because then we have all of the metrics across the board. And so that whole kind of challenge there about using the same platform across all of NAFA, same templates, you know, not having to have all the rigor, put in other social media tools. So for example, let's say we all want to have the Big Ideas webinar advertised, instead of every person going in and uploading it into, you know, 90 different Facebook accounts. There are tools out there that allow you to put it all through. So again, taking out some of the manual labor of marketing is a lot of what Q2 is about, and putting in some automation as we're now one organization. So those are some of the things that are coming up, as well as, again, the consistent look and feel for all of the, you know, events that we're going to do, and all of that is going to go to one, you know, one set of materials, as like a State Farm brand. And so those pieces are being built, and we'll be rolling those out, hopefully, you know, soon. I think that's it. So what I heard from Debbie was anything you could have that has some positioning in it, that it's already pre-written, and
love
some,
it.
and some pre-written social media posts, etc., would be good.
Exactly. Uh-huh.
Fantastic. And then if you guys are not, I'd say also, just as a housekeeping item, if we don't have everybody actually following NAFA on Twitter. So if you're not doing that, go ahead and do that. And Instagram and our YouTube channel, subscribe to that. That's another one too. And Facebook. And I think we can get those connected. That's a huge start to get that information out there. Kevin Mayu just put out a great video today. It's really in support of government officials. So, you know, that went onto the new Advocacy and Action blog. That would be a good one to put out, and to let everybody know within your, you know, local community that, again, NAFA's here for you.
So Suzanne, let me ask you a stupid question.
Sure.
Diane Boyle and Kevin, I believe it was yesterday, they both had two really good things on, I believe it was Twitter, okay? And I went in there and shared it. So does that just, who does that go to? Is that even what I'm supposed to be doing? Is it worth it? Or do I put it somewhere else?
That's a great, and that's not a stupid question whatsoever. Most people really don't understand how most of social media works, to be honest. And each channel, I mean, each one of these things has their own little intricacies to it. But,
Right.
you know, Twitter would be the channel that's the most for advocacy, certainly. You know, if that is, Twitter is for business and for government for sure. They're all.
Right.
So on that one, if you were to retweet it and put it up, it will only be seen by those people who are following your particular handle, unless you use hashtags. And that's why people use hashtags. So hashtags, if you're looking for that hashtag, anybody, you don't have to be following that particular person's Twitter handle to see it, or you wouldn't have to search for them, right? So that's why That's why if you put something out on, let's say you're praising one of your members and they're like, you know, your particular, they just won an award in your state or whatever. And you hashtag NAFA proud, we can look across all of Twitter and find that.
Oh, so like, okay. So if I had hashtag NAFA proud on both of those, everybody would have seen it that in our circle, for lack of better words, that needed to see it, right?
Yep. If they're following, yep.
Okay.
Yep, if they're following that. And you raise a really great point, because right now, to date, where we are in the state of social media in NAFA is a disaster across the nation. Because I mean, there's like hundreds of Facebook pages for NAFA, you know, B and C, and then they could have 3 because a member did it, and then they left, and then somebody's second cousin's niece did it, right? And there's Twitter accounts everywhere, and there's LinkedIn accounts and LinkedIn groups everywhere. And I'm just talking as on the aggregate. We're going to have to, you know, those are some of the things that we, you know, now that we're one association, we're going to have to slog through and figure out what is, you know, how should we best do that?
Gotcha.
Building out a, by the way, since you bring that up, and I don't know if that was you again, Debbie, but NAFA advocacy, we no longer use that Twitter handle, right? For the same reason. It's enough to build out one channel and get a group going. To build out another one is very difficult, right? So we combined NAFA advocacy and NAFA, because advocacy is the #1 thing we do. So the NAFA Twitter channel will be, you know, it's mostly advocacy is what you're going to see.
Gotcha. Okay. Thank you.
See it. Yeah. You shouldn't see it for a lot of like promotional stuff. We'll put some stuff in there, but that's really better for Facebook.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Yeah, you're absolutely welcome. Yep.
I think Linda put a question out.
Linda, I was gonna answer your question online, and then we had a pause, so I'll answer it vocally. So you had a question about Twitter, and tomorrow's session actually for this group is social media during COVID-19, but I don't know if your question is more specifically about learning how to use Twitter and things like that, or just Twitter during COVID-19.
I don't know anything about it. I've never used it in my life.
Okay. Yep.
So yeah, so maybe Suzanne, maybe tomorrow we can cover some like super basics or something.
Yeah. And that's the thing, right? I mean, if you can give us feedback, like, do you have members, you know, do you have other members that are in the same way? They're just not using this at all. And they're just not even aware that these are out here and they should be doing this. You know, those are some real considerations. Like, are those other series that we should put on for the good of all of, not just our staff, but like the good of, you know, NAFA as a whole? Just some questions there. You're not alone, is where I'm going. I'm saying with that one, you're far from alone on that one. Yeah. And like I said, I mean, I think it's a real wake-up call to the American population of digital. We don't want to have a digital divide where people are left behind, because let's just say speculatively, COVID-19 has found that, you know, it can last on every surface under the sun. Well, newspapers are going to stop or mail will stop, because it'll be a transmitter of, you know, that's not, that would not be hard to be believed, right? So in those types of cases, there's people that are still like, well, I just get my news from newspaper, and we still have those. It's really saying, hey, you know, we need to make sure that we're all connected at this point, interconnected. It's a really critical factor. Okay, so I think it's been a big wake-up call. I mean, I know I talked to Zoom this morning. I mean, their sales are through the roof, of course, because everybody who didn't want to go to digital or didn't want to go into virtual is now saying, okay, well, how do I do this? So.
Yeah, Wendy said that that's the stock of hers that's doing the best. So their stock is very good right now.
Yep, doing extremely well. All right. And then other than that, hopefully everybody, I probably should have started with saying, I hope everybody is doing well. And again, if you're not used to working from home, or if you're now in a situation you have to, or you have members that have to, we're trying to put some material together on that as well, because I know it's a big, it's, yeah, you know, I've done this for probably 17 years of my life. But I still usually had an office to go into, but it's for people who are people that need to go into the office, this is really a painful, it's a painful time. Luckily, I don't have little kids at home, but we definitely have staff members who have like 3 and 4-year-olds at home. And it's like, so it's a time definitely for everybody to adjust. Okay, any other things, Emily? Any questions, comments? Again, send ideas for things, materials that you would need or things that would help from, you know, that we can equip you with to, you know, to help you out during this time, help us serve our members. And again, please send members, nominate your members, send your members. Let's get involved. This is a great opportunity for them to get the recognition that they deserve.
Thank you for your dedication.
Oh, thank you. All right. Well, thanks everybody. We'll talk to you tomorrow.
Thank you. Thank you so much.